afternoon everyone, Coach Andy from North Shore Running Group here today, standing in for Claire, giving you a bit of a helping hand with your mobility sessions. So what we're going to look at today is our posterior chain, so our rear end, and what we're going to focus on is our hamstrings and calves. So what we're looking at when we talk about posterior, first thing that comes to mind when we talk about posterior is our posterior. What we're looking at there is a big muscle group that does a lot of work. When you think about names of muscles, which we take great pride in knowing, which I might mess up, who knows, but you think about gluteus maximus, big muscles, big work. Same thing when we're looking at our quadricep muscles at the front. We've got muscles that are called vastus, as in vast. But, and this is where the big focus comes in and why I want to look at hamstrings and calves today. The way I like to look at it is you think about the hamstring group of muscles, and we're talking about string, small, thin, long and wiry. So that's what we're looking at with our hamstring muscles. Longer, a little bit thinner, not as vast, not as maximus as our glutes. Same thing when I look at our calf muscles. You think of a calf as being a small cow, same thing, small calves. So that's the main little educational piece today, is the way I like to look at how these guys work. And what we're going to do today is I'm going to be a bit cheeky with this, and we've got one exercise I'm going to do which I love doing for that posterior chain, called Jefferson curls. Now, normally when we go through any sort of exercise, obviously we go through mobility, we go through a warm-up, we go through activation, and then we go into the exercises. I'm going to be a bit naughty today. I'm going to introduce you to the Jefferson curls straight away, because I'm going to demonstrate technically how we can get better length and better activation in the muscles through the range of motion that we're going to do. So, what we need today for our session is a step, so you can use the steps at home, you could use a bench, you can use a chair, anything you like, and then all you need is something with a little bit of weight. One thing I like to suggest with Jefferson curls, and you'll see by the size of this kettlebell, we're not talking huge weight. You know, Jefferson curls, you're not achieving the actual goal by having big weight, we're just using that as an aid to assist in our movement. So you can use a bottle of wine, which is always the favourite. You could use a bottle of dishwashing liquid or laundry detergent, a book, anything that's got some sort of weight that you can hold comfortably in your hands. So what we'll start off with is the good old Jefferson curl. So starting up on the step. So bring those toes just to the edge of the step. Now, big thing with the Jefferson curl, what you need to think about is we're working our entire posterior chain from our upper back, middle, lower back to our glutes, hamstrings, calves, the whole way down. It's not a hinging movement, it's actually a full body, or like as the name suggests, a curling movement. So if you're just got the toes just hanging over the edge of the bench, what we're doing then is starting from our upper body. So I like to sort of just start with a neck bend, then shoulders, then upper back, lowering down, and as you can see, it's not a fast movement. Now you can see I've gone from cold here. This is not what you'd call a thrilling length for a Jefferson curl. So we'll come back up again, same thing, curl upper, middle, then lower, and then going in the reverse direction. So hamstrings switching off, glutes switching off, lower back, upper, and down. So I'm just going to do this one more time. Now, one thing to keep in mind, knees should always be locked out through this movement. To get our hamstrings and our calves to work, we should actually be keeping those knees locked out as best as possible. Okay, so that's a little demo on how not to do it. So what we're going to go through now is a little game. You'll remember as kids the old game. I'm just going to slide the shoes off because we're going to do a little bit of rolling. Remember that old song, Dem Bones? You know, the shin bone's connected to the knee bone connected to the thigh bone. muscles work in pretty much the same way. So what we're going to work on is muscles, and also you'll hear this term used a lot, fascia, especially on our feet. So what we can do is, if you can grab hold of a tennis ball, I've got the benefit of a spiky ball roller, and what we're going to start is we're going to start at the bottom and work our way up. So starting just rolling right on the bottom of the feet. So you've heard that old condition, plantar fasciitis. Well, fasciitis, fascia, that's our little protective layer that's over our muscles that does do a little bit of work, can cause issues. We can release fascia and release the muscles just by working just small rotational movements, focusing on any little tight little spots that you find that might be a little bit tense. So if you find a little trigger spot, then just fall into it. So for the benefit of the session, I'm just going to do a little bit less. I want you guys obviously to focus a little bit more on time, so we can swap over feet. If you want to do longer, good old YouTube, you've got a pause button, so you can pause what I'm doing and do a little bit longer on this. You can't go too long with these things. So I'm just going to do the feet. And just going to then down onto the floor, and then let's just get into the calf muscles. So it's just rolling up and down, same thing, just looking for any triggers, any little knots that you find in there. So I'm just keeping that foot vertical at the moment, but what you can do is rotate the leg inwards. Just work our way up and down. Like I said, tennis ball's always a good one. I can just swap over to the tennis ball. Or that's even better actually, and then rotate outwards. Just rolling up and down. As always, if the muscles feel a little bit cold and tight, start light and build. We don't go straight into the tear-inducing, smashing the muscles when we're running or exercising. Same thing when we're going through our activation work. Okay, on to the other leg. Same thing again, just working up and down the length of the muscle, searching for any of those little knots that you might find. So rotating inwards. Rotating outwards. And then working our way up the leg. So now we're going to get into the hamstrings. So I'm just going to grab the spiky ball. It's got a little bit more height. You can use a foam roller as well for some of these. I find just the spiky balls are just a little bit more, hit the trigger points a little bit more because they're a little bit smaller, can really get into the muscle a little bit tighter than the foam roller. Once again, working your way up and down. Okay, swapping over sides. Keep working your way up. Once again, looking for those little knots. And then finishing off, let's get right up into the glutes. So we're sitting on the ball. There's a couple of ways you can do it. You can just cross your leg over, just work your way around in circles. As we know, our glute max is a pretty big muscle. There's a lot of space to work with this one. Okay, and then swapping over. I'm finding a few little knots in this one. You always tense when you find it. Try to relax. And just breathing. As AC, our yoga instructor, always says, if you feel tense, smile, and that helps release the muscle. Okay, so like I said to you, you can roll as long as you like. I've just gone through a bit of a demo just to show you how to work your way up from the lower up to the upper. Then the next thing that I tend to like doing is once we start to go into our movement, what I like to do is what I call microdynamic movements. So if you're just doing a static stretch, for example, if we're just doing, I'll just go on the side here, if we're just doing a straight stretch down and holding that pose, what I like to do is incorporate what I call micro movements. So it's just a tiny little like pumping motion. So at the moment I'm just focusing on, I'll spin around for you, focusing just down that left side, gentle pumping movement. Not aggressive, not intense, just small movement, just lengthening, shortening, just in very small, as I said, micro arrangements. Okay, and moving over to the right. So that's the first one that I like to do. And just to get, once again, hips are always an important part of everything that we do. Then what I like to do is just go into a bench position, knee up on the bench, and we've done this stretch before, but what I'm going to do is incorporate little circular movements into it. So once again, microdynamic. Just rotational movement. As with the rolling, I'm just going to do just a shorter period. Feel free to do longer on this if you want. So you can do up and down, a little bit of side to side, a little bit of rotation. You can go left to right, right to left, and then swapping over legs. And the good thing about this one is you get to find out which side is better than the other. So, rotating. So you can do this with all sorts of static stretches, just incorporating that. So for example, when you go through a calf stretch, you might just spin the box over. If we're just doing a static calf stretch, we might be able to sort of bring that leg out, pushing forward with our heel on the deck. We can incorporate just that small movement, just by just a little bit up and down movement, but the whole time what we're doing is trying to keep that heel on the deck so we can just extend, contract, extend, contract the calf muscles, I should say, and then swapping over. Like I said, the calf muscles, the babies, the young muscles. You look at some people, you look at some cyclists and that, calf muscles are almost as big as their quads. Us poor runners, we're a little bit leaner and a little bit lighter with our muscles. Okay, so like I said, a little bit of dynamic movement in there. They're just a few examples of a couple of things you can do. So now what we're going to get into is some actual exercises. So I'm just going to clear some space. The first one we're going to do, you can use if you've got a band like this, or you have a towel. This is a good one. It's a strengthening exercise and a static stretch at the same time. So, the way to do it is lying down on the ground. Bring that band around the sole of your foot. Drawing that leg up to its comfortable height. Once again, trying to keep that knee locked out the whole way through it. And from this position, it's going to go through 10 repeats of bringing our opposite leg up to meet. So that's 1, 2, 3, 4. What I'm focusing on is not resting on the ground. 5, I'm just going to let the heel shave the ground. So I'm not switching off the muscles at all, just keeping everything active. 10. So we're killing two birds with one stone here. We're getting a static stretch, plus we're getting activation. So we'll swap over legs. Now, the other thing also that you can do with this is the position of the band or the towel is going to determine how much of a stretch you're going to get. The further forward I bring that band, if I bring it right up to the front of my foot, that's going to increase the stretch through the calves because we're really pulling that forefoot through as much as possible. So let's just now go up, do our 10, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 8, and if you're wondering, good for the core as well. 9, and there's our 10. So I'm just going to go through one round of these exercises today, but my recommendation is once I've finished the video, go back and do these. I've got 4 exercises we're doing. I would recommend 3 to 4 sets of each. Now I'm going to get cheeky and I'm going to show you another way you can do this without having a band, without having a towel. It's what I call door frame leg raises. So bear with me, I'm just going to spin the camera around. And here's our door frame. What I like doing with the door frame is it gives you a good way of showing how much angle you're getting with that hamstring stretch. The closer your butt is to the door, the more close to 90 degrees that we're going to reach. So I'll try and give you an example. So up to the door, the leg is then up against the door frame while the opposite leg is in the door itself. Or doorway, I should say, and we're doing exactly the same movement. But you'll see that you might not be able to see from there, but I've got my posterior, I've got my gluteus maximus right up hard against the door frame, which means I'm sitting at a comfortable 90 degrees. My knee is locked out and nice and straight. So I'm just going to do a couple of these. Then just do a quick swap over to the other side of the door frame. Same thing again, I've got that butt right up. I've got my lower spine against the floor, so I'm not leaning up. And once again, down, and I can just go through exactly the same movement. But obviously on the opposite side. Now hopefully you can see me. I'm not too sure if I got the video in the right position for this. Okay, so that's a really handy one that we can do at home. So I'll just spin the camera around back around again. Back to our central position. So I'm going to leave intentionally, I'm leaving the Jefferson Curls till last, just to put all this mobility work to the test to see how much depth I can get on the Jefferson Curls at the end of the workout. Okay, so the next one I'm going to do is just like a supine, so down on all fours, 4 points, or 6 points as some people call it, 2, 4, 6. And we're going to do leg extension, but you'll see that the leg's bent. From here, the leg goes out straight and back up again. So you're going to get huge hamstring activation with this movement. So holding that pose the whole way through, hips should be straight, which I'm notoriously bad at, so forgive me, I am but an old man. Feel free to comment and say, oh, those hips are not looking too straight. I can handle it. Okay. 10 on left side, right side. Same again, kick up, high, hips as high and straight as possible, and then extend and out, extend and out. Probably haven't done 10, but for the benefit of the demonstration, you're doing 10, I'm showing you how to do it. Oh, that was an ordinary last one. Let's do a better job. Okay, so that's our second exercise. Now, next one we're going to do before we get on back to our Jefferson curls is what I call a runner's downward dog. So if we've done yoga before, you'll know that the downward dog position is hips nice and high. Usually you have a little bit of bend in the knees, and we're trying to push those heels in towards the ground. Now a runner's downward dog is we're going to incorporate a bit of a running movement. So we're going to go through. You can do this fairly intense, but you can also do it fast. But what I want to do is focus on getting as much length in the calves as possible, pretending we're in a running motion. So you're going to do 20 of these, 10 per side. So I'm just going to do a couple more, and then the ultimate test is about to happen. Can we get better length in our hamstrings and calves with the Jefferson curl now that we've gone through all those movements? So let's put my body to the test. So just to recap, step, something with a little bit of weight but not too much weight. It's not a hinge, so we're not doing as we would do here. We're not hinging, we're curling. Sorry, I got a visit. Got Nick to join in. I was going to come in, Nick, and do the Jefferson curls with me if he really wants to. Nah, he's saying no. Okay, so starting at the upper body, curl, shoulders, upper body, lower, hamstrings, and we're getting more length. So neck, shoulders, upper thoracic, lower thoracic, knees locked out, down, hold. I say it's not the fastest movement on earth. So I'm just going to do one more. You guys are going to be doing 10 of these. Okay, so I've just done 3. It is a slow movement, but it should be slow. So I want you to go through 10 of your Jefferson curls, 10 per leg of the banded leg raise or door frame leg raise, 10 of our, what was the third? Oh, our supine leg kicks, and then also our, what I call our runner's downward dog. And then the Jefferson curls should be your ticket. Okay guys, enjoy the session and I'll see you guys soon.